Here are the headlines for Sunday morning, August 18, 2024. X immediately shuts Brazil office after Darth Vader threatens lawyer with secret censorship orders. Elon Musk announced that X will be closing its operations in Brazil due to censorship orders from Brazilian judge Alexandre de Moraes, who Musk referred to as Brazil's Darth Vader. According to X, Moraes threatened the company with arrest if it did not comply with his orders to remove content from the platform. Despite appeals to the Supreme Court, Moraes chose to threaten X's staff in Brazil rather than respect the law or due process. As a result, X made the decision to close its operation in Brazil to protect the safety of its staff. Musk stated that X remains available to the people of Brazil and criticized de Moraes' actions as an utter disgrace to justice. Oakland neighbors take matters into their own hands to fight reckless driving sideshows. Neighbors in Oakland have taken matters into their own hands by installing dirt and rock-filled tires on busy streets to protest reckless driving, which has gone unchecked for years despite complaints. City crews removed the makeshift barriers, but neighbors vowed to continue protesting until the city takes action to improve road safety. The move comes after a 2-year-old boy was almost hit by a speeding car on the sidewalk, with residents expressing frustration and disappointment with the city's inaction. Rogan and Quaid ask, "Who's really running the country?" Joe Rogan and actor Dennis Quaid discussed the current state of leadership in the United States during an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. Rogan expressed his opinion that President Biden is not actively running the country, stating that he has been absent for the last 3 years and has since announced that he will not run again. Quaid responded by questioning who is actually running the country now, suggesting that the president may be a mere figurehead. Secret Service agent abandoned her post to breastfeed. A Secret Service agent assigned to protect President Trump abandoned her post to breastfeed her infant, sparking questions about the policy of assigning mothers of newborns to potentially violent situations. The incident raises concerns about the accommodations made for new mothers in law enforcement and whether they should be allowed to take their infants into potential gunfights. It also highlights the need for a re-examination of the idea that women can be hired and assigned without reference to their sex, particularly in certain jobs that may pose risks to themselves or others. Kevin Plank's race farm listed for $22 million amid Under Armour troubles. Under Armour's founder Kevin Plank is selling his 530-acre horse farm in Baltimore County for $22 million. The listing was briefly available online before being removed from public view, and the real estate agent declined to comment further. Plank purchased the farm in 2007 through a limited liability company, but it is unclear how much he paid due to property records not disclosing a sale price. So what really happened in Kursk? The Russian Ministry of Defense is under scrutiny after the recent Ukrainian invasion at Kursk, sparking a debate about whether it was caught off guard or deliberately allowed to happen as part of a larger strategy. Sources suggest that there may have been a breakdown in intelligence gathering, with some analysts pointing to the transfer of former security overseer Nikolai Patrushev from his post as Secretary of the Security Council as a contributing factor. Another theory is that a hawkish military faction within the Ministry of Defense deliberately allowed the Ukrainian invasion to proceed in order to set a trap for Kiev's top enemy commanders and troops, as well as to put pressure on President Putin to take more decisive action in the war. Here's why the United States is playing dumb about Ukraine's plans to invade Kursk. The United States is playing dumb regarding Ukraine's invasion of Russia's Kursk region by claiming it had no knowledge of the plans, despite likely participating in the preparations or at least catching hints through its intelligence services. This denial serves 5 purposes: maintaining plausible deniability to control escalation and avoid direct participation in hostilities, avoiding embarrassment and responsibility when Ukraine inevitably fails propagating David V's Goliath optics to boost morale and support among the Western public, keeping up the charade of a gentleman's agreement gone bad between Moscow and when Washington agreement gone bad between. Watch. Neil deGrasse Tyson says chromosomes don't determine biological sex. Television scientist Neil deGrasse Tyson has sparked controversy after claiming that DNA does not determine whether a person is male or female. Tyson, a physicist, stated that individuals can decide each day whether they feel like being male or female, ignoring the physical aspect of sex and focusing on mental and emotional aspects. His comments have been met with backlash from those who argue that DNA, specifically XX, XXY, XY chromosomes, determines biological sex. Critics are accusing Tyson of prioritizing feelings over facts and abandoning scientific integrity. Zelensky says Ukraine strengthening positions in Kursk boasts of many prisoners of war captured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed that his forces are strengthening their positions in Russia's Kursk region following the August 6th invasion. The Ukrainian army has reportedly captured hundreds of Russian prisoners of war, with Zelensky thanking soldiers for taking Russian soldiers prisoner and bringing the release of Ukrainian soldiers and civilians held by Russia closer. Despite facing dozens of Russian assaults on their positions over the past day, Ukrainian forces are doing everything to destroy the occupier and repel the attacks, according to Zelensky. Many countries turning to a stateless currency. Gold becomes many countries turning to a stateless currency, gold. Central banks globally are increasingly turning to gold as a reserve asset due to its status as a stateless currency that is not controlled by any government. This shift is largely driven by the United States' aggressive use of the dollar as a foreign policy tool, which has led countries to diversify away from the greenback and seek greater independence in their financial dealings. In response to these actions, central banks added a net 483 tons of gold through the first 6 months of this year, with last year's total net purchases falling just 45 tons short of the multi-decade record set in 2022. New York Times distorted coverage of Chinese Communist Party abuses likely cost lives, report says. Former Chinese Communist Party leader Jiang Zemin launched a violent campaign against the Falun Gong spiritual movement in 1999. But his designated replacement, Hu Jintao, showed little enthusiasm for the persecution. Experts believe that Yu could have theoretically redressed the issue of Falun Gong, blaming Jiang and purging his faction. However, this was unlikely to happen as it would have required the Communist Party to admit to a major mistake, which is not good for their long-term power in China. California officials asked schools to construct housing for teachers, students. California officials are pushing for school districts to convert available property into housing for teachers, school staff, and students due to the state's severe housing crisis. State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond has launched an initiative to use 75,000 acres of surplus land owned by school districts throughout California to construct 2.3 million housing units. Some school districts have already started working on teacher housing projects, with Los Angeles Unified and San Francisco Unified among those that have made progress. Additionally, several laws governing safety, health, and inclusivity are set to take effect in the upcoming school year, including a recess requirement, climate change education, and media literacy integration into curricula. Kamala Harris proposed price controls may lead to communism, mass starvation, and end of America. Vice President Kamala Harris unveiled her economic plan of implementing price controls at a rally in North Carolina, citing evil capitalism and corporations for rampant inflation despite the reality that reckless government spending under her and President Biden is the primary driver of sky-high prices. Critics, including Washington Post columnist Catherine Rampell, have blasted the plan as communist-style and potentially disastrous, arguing it would lead to food deserts, supply chain breakdowns, and ultimately communism and mass starvation. Elon Musk reposted a detailed analysis by Robert Sterling, which outlined the devastating consequences of Harris's price control plan, including grocery store closures, reduced food production, and a government takeover of the food industry. Removing the great from Britain. The Labour Party's massive victory in Britain marks a shift towards nationalism and socialism, with plans for nationalised industries such as Great British Energy, Great British Railway, and the National Healthcare Service. Critics argue that these moves will stifle competition, reduce individual freedom, and increase costs to taxpayers. The party's leader, Keir Starmer, has also proposed increasing trade ties with the European Union through a deal that would adopt EU regulations on food and agriculture. This move is seen as ironic given Britain's historical tradition of liberty and its past efforts to extricate itself from foreign tyranny. Senator Scott urges Commerce Department to investigate Chinese-owned Temu. Senator Rick Scott of Florida is urging the Commerce Department to launch an investigation into Chinese budget online retailer Temu over concerns about product safety, labor practices, unfair competition, data privacy, and counterfeit goods. Temu's platform allows more than 100,000 China-based sellers to operate in the United States, sparking worries that products sold on the site may not meet rigorous safety standards or be manufactured using forced labor. Scott also questioned Temu's ability to sell products at lower prices than American retailers, suggesting this could result from unfair trade practices or loopholes in import regulations. Same shit, different government. Channel migrants record daily crossings for farmers' labor. A record 703 migrants crossed the English Channel from France to the United Kingdom on Sunday, marking the third highest daily total this year. The figure is part of a long-running crisis that has seen 18,342 asylum seekers arrive in the United Kingdom since the start of the year, a 13% increase over the same period last year. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer scrapped the former Conservative government's Rwanda scheme, which aimed to deter migrants by deporting them to the African country for offshore asylum processing. The move has been criticized for not helping to stop the flow of migrants, with 25 people having died during the perilous crossing so far this year. Central Intelligence Agency awards Qatari Intel Chief top medal for cooperation with United States. The director of the Central Intelligence Agency, William Burns, awarded the head of the Qatari State Security Agency, Abdullah bin Khalifa Al Khulaifi, the George Tenet Medal for his efforts in strengthening intelligence cooperation between the United States and Qatar. The award recognizes their close collaboration during the decade-long proxy war to oust Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, as well as their joint efforts in negotiating a potential ceasefire in Gaza and prisoner exchange between Israel and Hamas. Additionally, al-Khulaifi's agency has played a crucial role in preventing and foiling terrorist threats and attacks in West Asia, further solidifying the partnership between the CIA and Qatari intelligence. As United States coal plants shutter, a renewed focus on nuclear emerges. The Department of Energy is exploring the possibility of converting retired coal plants into nuclear energy facilities, which could add up to 250 gigawatts of capacity to the United States' current 95 gigawatt output. By repurposing existing infrastructure from coal plants, construction costs for new nuclear facilities could be reduced by as much as 35%. Several states, including Arizona and Wyoming, are considering replacing retired coal plants with nuclear energy facilities. The initiative is part of a broader effort to accelerate innovation in the nuclear industry and promote clean energy production in the United States. 75% of Bitcoin hasn't moved in over 6 months, signaling strong holding trend. Recent data from Bitcoin Magazine Pro reveals that nearly 75% of all circulating Bitcoin has remained dormant for over 6 months, reflecting a strong HODL-ling behavior among holders who steadfastly believe in the cryptocurrency's long-term value despite market fluctuation. This trend suggests a reduced supply of Bitcoin available for trading, which could lead to increased price stability or even potential price appreciation as demand grows, and emphasizes the potential benefits of adopting a long-term investment strategy for new investors.